Buenos días, buenas tardes, or buenas noches. ¿Cómo estás? Yo estoy muy bien. Well, I hope everything went well with SWIC 1 and SWIC 2 as you've got a chance to practice something that's going to be so important as long as you study and speak Spanish, and that's how to take these regular AR verbs and conjugate them so that you can communicate what various people do. Before you move on to SWIC 3, I wanted to take just about 2 or 3 minutes here and do a quick video over what the assignment is in SWIC 3, because now we're going to start trying to use this idea more to communicate various ideas by doing some more writing. So the first part of the SWIC 3, it says write a complete sentence to say what each person is doing, follow the model. So you'll see something that says nosotros, there's the subject, and then it's going to give you an infinitive, estudiar mucho. How would you take that information and put it together to create a sentence that says we study a lot? Well, we've learned how to conjugate verbs. Now we're going to try to produce some more. So we would say nosotros estudiamos mucho. Why is it estudiamos? Well, that amos corresponds to the subject pronoun or the subject nosotros. Okay? So there'll be some practice writing. Then we're going to move on to answering some sí or no questions. All right, so answer the following questions in complete sentences in Spanish, and once again, only use grammar and vocab we've learned this year. All right, so you'll see a question, ¿nadas todos los días? All right, do you swim every day? How did I know it was do you swim? Well, nadas, the as, that tells me we're in the tu form, the you form, and there's question marks around it, so I can infer that that's asking, do you swim every day? Well, in Spanish, if I don't do that, I would say no nado todos los días. Why did I put an O on the end? Because someone asked me, do you swim every day? I've got to answer no, I don't swim every day. All right. In Spanish, when you answer yes or no questions, they're always answered one of two ways. It's either yes or no, right? And here's how you would respond. So, ¿escuchas música en español? So, do you listen to music? And again, how do I know it's do you listen? Well, the as, that tells me, since that's the ending right here, that we're in the tu form. So let's say that I do that every day. I would say, sí, escucho música en español. Now, if it's no, we actually use the word no twice. No escucho música en español. All right, so we're going to practice with some yes or no questions, all right? ¿Practicas deportes? Well, maybe you do every day. Sí, practico deportes. Or no practico deportes. All right, the as tells me that somebody's asking, hey, señor, do you practice sports? And I would answer with an O on the end saying, yes or no, I don't. All right, from there, you're going to see 4 drawings, and these 4 drawings are below. I want you to write about what each person is doing by writing 4 complete sentences in Spanish, only using vocab we've known. So not 4 sentences per question, just 4 in total. So you'll look at this picture here. What are these 2 people doing? And you're going to write a sentence saying what they're doing. All right, so you'll use your vocab. Here's an example. Let's say this is the picture, and I'm thinking to myself, well, Señora Piper, she is walking the dog. So I would say, La Señora Piper camina con los perros. How did I get from caminar to camina? Well, I dropped the AR. My subject is Señora Piper, and I know that the A corresponds to ella. All right, so Señora Piper walks the dogs. Okay? From there, write 4 sentences describing what you do after school. Write in Spanish in complete sentences using only grammar and vocab we've learned. So, for example, if I were writing about what I do after school, I would say, yo camino con los perros todos los días. Or maybe I would say, yo miro la televisión después de las clases. Since I'm saying what I do, we have to make sure my verbs end in an O, because we know that that is the subject yo. Okay? And then the next activity will say, use verbs from the list below to describe what you do on Saturdays and how often you do it. Write in complete sentences in Spanish, only using grammar and vocab you've learned this year. So I'm going to give you 8 verbs to pick from, and I'll give you those verbs, those words of frequency, and I want you to put some ideas together and make up some sentences here. All right? So here's an example. Muchas veces escucho la música. That'd be something I do on Saturdays. Or nunca trabajo los sábados. That'd be something that I don't do on Saturdays, for example. Okay? And then tell whether good students always, siempre, or nunca, never do the following. Write a complete sentence in Spanish using only vocab and grammar you've known. So, for example, you see Claudia llegar a clase temprano, which we know means to arrive to school early. Well, that's something that a good student would always do. So we're going to make a sentence up saying, Claudia siempre llega a clase temprano. Why is it llega? Well, I had to drop my AR from llegar. We know the subject is Claudia, and that A goes along with Claudia. Now remember, our words for frequency, de vez en cuando, muchas veces, mucho, nunca, siempre, todos los días. Remember, where we put them depends on the word. If it's siempre or nunca, they're usually placed right before the verb. Antonio siempre toma apuntes. Rafael nunca llega a clase tarde. Mucho, though, usually goes right after the verb. Raquel estudia mucho. And then de vez en cuando, muchas veces, and todos los días, you can put those at the very beginning or the very end of a sentence. Okay? So we're going to practice our writing now to see if you can take this idea of conjugating verbs and create sentences and statements that are a little bit longer than what the first two SWICs were. If you have any questions, let me know. Adios.